Hello and welcome to the NFL preview show powered by Oddschecker. I'm Tom Julian, this is Ben McClymont, and Ben, we have football back, meaningful football.
It's back.
And what a week it's been.
It's been a great week, to be fair. Some upsets, some big scoring points, a lot of superstars out, especially after last year of injuries to those superstars. It's great to have it back.
It's the hardest part of it all is deciding what to discuss and what to leave out. So we're going to pick three big takeaways that we thought was impossible to leave out, and then we're going to look ahead to our pick six. 6 games that we fancy, a couple of odds in there, and just a look ahead to week 2.
Let's kick it off.
All right, so I'm going to start with the greatest of all time, Aaron Rodgers.
Big shout.
Not a big shout.
It is a massive shout, but we'll move on. We'll discuss that later in the season.
Aaron Rodgers, he brought the Green Bay Packers back from 20-0 down to 24-23. Green Bay get to a 1-0 start. It looked to be Khalil Mack's night, didn't it, Ben?
It did early on. Khalil Mack was on fire. He had a strip sack, he had an interception, and the rest of the defense was stepping up as well. Roquan Smith with his first play, I think, came straight through the middle and sacked Rodgers, or was it Kaiser? I think it was Kaiser actually. When Rodgers got a little injury, so had to go off for a bit. Kaiser came on and was an absolute mare. He threw an interception and got sacked a few times to us, but the Bears defense was looking awesome, and then Aaron Rodgers decided to come back into the game, and what happened?
Oh, he just took over, didn't he?
Did Aaron Rodgers thing.
He took over, and it's an amazing one because, like you say, Aaron Rodgers got injured. He left with about 10 minutes left to go in the first half. The fans are thinking, is this guy out for the season?
Yeah.
Comes back into the third quarter, and his numbers speak for themselves. 17 for 23, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers, including that huge 75-yard TD to Randall Cobb, whom nobody thought was playing anymore. Like, he looked to be out of the league. So it just shows what a magic man Aaron Rodgers really is.
Yeah, I think that's right. And everyone panicked when Jordy Nelson went, but then what's this? Randall Cobb with 142 yards and a touchdown. He's been injured for a bit, but I think Rodgers makes people better. Geronimo Allison, he's one of the younger receivers. He had a touchdown as well, 50 or 60 yards, I think. So Rodgers makes people better. That's the way it is.
How do you feel for the Bears after that game? Obviously, a big Bears fan. So close and yet so far, but you can take a lot of positives out of this.
Yeah, I think I went to bed, it was 10-0, and it was looking quite comfortable because Rodgers was out. And I was thinking, I can go to bed, rest easy. Woke up in the morning, wasn't great. But I feel very, very positive. I'm not going to lie. The defense looked great. The secondary looked okay as well, but the front seven looks fearsome. I think people are going to be very scared. And after watching the Lions play yesterday, I quite fancy that. I think the Vikings in the division are also very good. But then the positives on the offense as well are quite striking. Howard looks good. I think he's a really good running back. He's solid, but you've got Tariq Cohen with a bit of X factor, especially in the receiving game. And then the receivers they've brought in, Allen Robinson looks like a number 1 receiver. Mm-hmm. There's a throw down the right side for about 30 yards from Trubisky, just looped it over the cornerback, and Robinson went up and made a great number 1 receiver style catch. And I think that's going to make a big difference to Trubisky and the offense. So I'm all in.
Well, they're on Monday Night Football, aren't they, against the Seahawks? So that's another test. But you think they can come out on top on that one?
I do. I think this is 2 teams still, like the Seahawks are rebuilding as well. I think this is a big game for both teams. They're both 0-1. This could set the rest of the season. You go 0-2 early and then you're kind of in no man's land. You get back on the straight and narrow to 1-1, and both these teams, I think, will feel like they could make a little playoff run.
That's exciting times. What's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway this week is Ryan Fitzmagic. He was so good.
I honestly can't believe it. Our producer's going a bit nuts in the back there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he was telling us about all the times they were downtrodden, and here they are. The number 1 talking point in the NFL, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is the number 1 talking point as well.
That's madness, isn't it? So Tampa Bay Buccaneers 48 points to 40 over the New Orleans Saints. This Saints defense that's supposed to be a bit of a weapon, the thing that's going to take them to the promised land, the Super Bowl. But the Saints are here 0-1. The Bucs are flying high, and what I loved about Fitzpatrick was his interview after the game. He was like, "Yeah, I know I can do that." We haven't seen it for 3 years, but he knew he could do it.
He didn't do it very often 3 years ago, but still.
No.
But he came out with 417 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And his rushing touchdown was like fullback-esque. He put his helmet down, like rammed over from a couple of yards out, and took, I think it was Williams with him, the safety. And he just looked like he was keen as mustard the whole game. He just fancied everything. And the way they did it as well, they blew the secondary apart. Mike Evans on one, like, went round the side of Lattimore, and he was like 5-6 steps, he was gone. Lattimore was treading water. And I think this is an issue that Saints have. There's a few stats which I took away, and one of them was the fact that Fitzpatrick had 12 carries. He carried the ball 12 times, he only made 35, 36 yards, but the Saints did not keep him in the pocket any time. They didn't get a sack. There's no pressure on the quarterback, and if you can't pressure the quarterback, and all due respect is Fitzpatrick, there's other quarterbacks who can do other things outside the pocket. You'd say better than Fitzpatrick.
Well, Panthers in their division.
Yeah. And if you get Cam Newton outside the pocket with 12 carries, he's going to be well over 100 yards. So that's a big issue for the Saints defence. And I think there's a lot on Davenport now. They gave up 2 first-round picks in essence, which is the same price as the Bears paid for Mack, effectively. And he didn't play a lot in this game, and I think there's so much pressure on him now. Like, he has to come in, and I think there's a lot riding on him to be a pass rusher that can support Cam Jordan to make the Saints good. Otherwise, they're in trouble.
Well, the Saints are one of those teams that that started 0-2 last year. They're one of only 9 teams, I think, that actually qualified for the playoffs after starting 0-2. They don't want to be in that position again, so there's a lot of pressure on those guys. I want to talk a little bit about Todd Monken, the Bucks offensive coordinator, because last year head coach Dirk Kotter was calling plays, and it just wasn't going right for any of the offense. I feel like there's a bit of humility there with Coach Cotter, who's taken a step back. He's gone, look, I was rubbish at this. This isn't working. And Todd Monken stepped in, and they look alive again.
Yeah. Well, I think last year, from watching Hard Knocks, Dirk Cotter and Jameis Winston both hyped themselves up a little bit too much. And they put so much pressure on themselves, and Cotter's knocked himself and Winston down a peg or two, and that seems to have levelled out the field a bit, and now they know where they stand. They've got great receivers. They've got 4 or 5 really.
Yeah.
Like, they've got 3 players who can take the top of your defense. Got OJ Howard as well, who looks pretty good. Cameron Bray, Humphreys on the slot. They've got players who can work underneath. The issue is the running game. I think Peyton Barber had 69 yards, I think, and I'm not sure if Ronald Jones is going to get a chance. That could be a problem, especially when they're leading. You think, I'll run the football, run the clock down a bit, but they just couldn't get first downs doing that really. So that could be an issue for them. But that offense is lethal when it gets going.
Watch out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I
never thought I'd say that. Absolutely balmy. And the last takeaway I want to talk about is going back to Thursday night football. It's our own Jay Ajayi. And it was great to see him, because the first half we didn't see him at all. I think he carried it 3 times, totally uninvolved, and we're all looking, and is it going to be the right fit for Jay Ajayi? You know, he left Miami under a bit of a cloud. There's talk about his character, and is he gonna fit into the Philadelphia system going forward? Comes out 15 carries in total, blitzes it in the second half, 2 touchdowns, only for 60 yards. But Doug Peterson's come out and said he wants Jay Ajayi to be the workhorse, and that's music to that guy's ears.
That's what he is, isn't he? He is the workhorse. Last year he slotted in behind Blunt a bit. Corey Clement had a lot, and Wendell Smallwood had quite a few carries as well. So I don't think people knew whether Ajayi would be the man, and now it looks like he will be. And they've got Sproles and Clement who can run at the backfield and do slightly different things. But with Ajayi being the workhorse again, that plays right into his hands. He runs hard, and he's going to need it. He doesn't always spot the gap, but once he gets through the gap, he's going to break half a tackle. And I think this could be a big year for him.
Yeah, I think it's really important how Pedersen coaches him, because he is a little bit injury prone. He needs to be managed, and the Eagles are going to need him going into the end of the season and hopefully through the playoffs for Eagles fans again. So managing Jay Ajayi is so important. He's also in a contract year, and if I know Jay Ajayi, which I don't, but I know that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's already said that before. He didn't like how low down he fell in the draft, and he will be hoping for a big time contract next year, which just gives him more motivation to play hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the Eagles where they're at the moment, with Jeffries being out as well, do they have a number 1 receiver? They're going to rely on the running game a lot, I think. Especially if Carson Wentz comes back, the old RPOs, everyone's favourite term and stuff, they might start doing this, and that'll give Ajayi some space, and I think he's going to become a big part of that offense.
Now, it's amazing that we've had 3 takeaways here, Ben. We haven't talked about the Jets putting up 48 points, which is ridiculous. Yeah. We haven't talked about the Browns and Steelers tying.
No, that was probably my favourite game from Saturday, actually. From Sunday night. It just kept going on, and it was one of them that the Browns are going to lose. The Browns are going to lose. Steelers miss a field goal. The Browns are going to win. They've intercepted the ball and they lost. They didn't lose, they didn't win, they tied.
It felt like I was watching it through my fingers. I was just like, please, somebody win this game. It was just painful for both sides and horrible weather conditions. But we did say we're not going to talk about it. But also, the Baltimore Ravens, 47-3 on the Buffalo Bills. Now, does that tell you that the Buffalo Bills are terrible, or the Baltimore Ravens, are they a real team? Are they here to play?
It's a bit of both, I think. I think no one just thrashes, even if there's a terrible team, an average team doesn't just go out and produce an absolute mauling. The Ravens are a good team, I think.
Yeah.
Offensively, they look solid. Their line is good, but Joe Flacco looks really good, and they've got 3 receivers who are here to play. All of them have come in. They're on new contracts. A lot of them short-term contracts. You've got Willie Snead in the slot, and then you've got John Brown, who we've talked about a bit before, who coming good, and then Crabtree is your kind of red zone threat. And you've still got, well, they wanted Hayden Hurst would have been nice if he was still fit, but the running game is a little bit of an issue because everyone thought Alex Collins was going to be the man. He touchdown in the first drive. Everyone thinks this is his year. Fumbled it on his second drive, and then he kind of got pulled out of the game really. And Buck Allen came in and took most of the carries, and it was a bit awkward really. I don't know what their game plan is with the running game. That could cost them because I think that's with the defense the way it plays. I think they want to rely on the running game a bit more.
Yeah, well, they're the first ones up in week 2. They're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. It's in Baltimore, and this rivalry, Ben, split 22-all. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I'm seeing this game similar. I think it's a bit of a coin toss.
It very much is, according to the odds. It's one of these exciting ones. But we've got Bengals who have won 7 of the last 9 matchups, so they're in form if you think about it in that fashion. You're saying it's a coin flip game. Which way are you going?
Bengals at home. I'm going for the Bengals. And who are you going?
I'm going to go for the Ravens.
I know you are. That's what we like here. A bit of controversy.
What makes you? Is it just home advantage that makes you happy about the Bengals?
A little bit, and I think the way they played in the first game, the defense has enough on it. It's got enough pass rush to cause some issues. Secondary looks okay. That's nice. They had a pick 6 in the last game, but the offense is good. I think AJ Green looks good. John Ross could be used a bit more, but Joe Mixon looks like a real 3-down back, and teams with 3-down backs generally do well, especially a good 3-down back, apart from Cardinals.
Yeah, AJ Green is 11-10 to score any time, which is pretty.
He was targeted
nice,
a lot in the last game. He dropped one in the end zone. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and Joe Mixon as well. I think it's 10-11, so he's the favourite to score any time. But Joe Mixon looks absolutely lively with either carrying or catching. So he's dangerous. He's going to be fun.
Perfect for Dalton when he's getting on a little bit, struggling off a few down years. Someone he can just throw the ball to out the backfield.
Now you mentioned his name earlier, John Brown, the wide receiver for the Ravens. I feel like he's a darling of mine. I carry him around on my fantasy team wherever I go, and the last 2 years he hasn't paid off at all. A few years ago he was really good for the Cardinals, and he's stayed on there since. He's back on there this year. He scored a touchdown in week 1, and he's 13-5 to score any time as well. So I like John Brown, and the Ravens are using him in the right way. Like you said, they've got a trio of wide receivers who it feels a bit like a kind of ragtag bunch. But they're coming together and they're coming good. Joe Flacco looks good, and the Ravens are an exciting team. I hope they
get Lamar Jackson on the field as well a bit, which is very exciting. He had 4 or 5 plays, I think. Yeah. Threw one, ran one. It's just exciting. I think the Ravens are actually exciting, which I didn't think I'd say.
Yeah. All right. So those were our takeaways, and now we're going to pick 6 games. Do you see what I did there?
I do see what you did there, yeah.
Very, very clever. We're going to pick our 6 favourite games from week 2. We're going to preview them a little bit, talk a few odds, and see what we're thinking about these ones. And what better place to start than Thursday night football? The Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. It's on Sky Sports Action at 1:20 a.m. on Friday morning, if you can work it out in the UK. This is a real close matchup, Ben.
Yeah, I think it is. With a divisional matchup, 2 teams who think they can overtake the Steelers, 2 good defenses, one great defense and one defense which I think is a little bit underrated. I don't think there's going to be many points in this.
No,
personally, no. I've seen the line, but under 41, I think 27-20. I like those odds. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of action in terms of end zone action. I think there's going to be a lot of brutal hits, a lot of running the football. I think someone like Joe Mixon might have a big game as well. Yeah,
well, it's a traditionally very close game. They're 22 apiece in historic terms. Bengals have won 7 of the last 9 as well. And I don't know if you remember last year, it was heartbreak for the Ravens when Andy Dalton's 4th and long, he threw it, Tyler Boyd catches it, the Bills go to the playoffs, the Baltimores go home, the Ravens go home, and they miss out on the playoffs. So there's a little bit of a revenge angle here as well. I think there's a lot to play for. You're fancying the Bengals here.
I'm fancying the Bengals at home. 10-11 to win outright. I think that's a good bet. They won their first game. They look good. Their offense looks pretty fearsome, to be honest, with AJ Green. John Ross got a bit of pace, and Joe Mixon is good. So maybe Tyler Eifert could really step up as well and be the tight end he was. I like the Bengals to win.
I fancy the Ravens. I really am getting involved in the Ravens and their playoff aspirations. I'm buying in.
You're
on
buying
that.
in?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go long into the playoffs, but I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. And we talked a little bit earlier about their ragtag bunch of wide receivers, didn't we? And John Brown is a guy that I just carry around on my fantasy team wherever I go, and he scored a touchdown at the weekend. He's 13-5 to score another touchdown any time against the Bengals, so that's one to watch. I quite fancy John Brown to have a bit of a renaissance this year.
Yeah, well, I can't disagree with you. I think they've got three even well paired receivers, so they match up well. They all do different things, and John Brown to score a touchdown isn't a terrible bet.
Having said that, you look at AJ Green at 11-10 and to score any time, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
AJ Green is such a great player,
especially in the red zone. Andy Dalton loves him in the end zone. Even from 40, 30 yards out, he'll take a shot at him. So that's great odds.
So you're taking the Cincinnati Bengals at 10-11, right?
Yeah.
I am taking the Baltimore Ravens at 15-16. So I mean, it's a right shootout between me and you, isn't it?
It is. We'll see who wins.
No pressure. We might not do this next weekend if we've fallen out over the Bengals and the Ravens. All right, the next game that I want to talk about, Ben, if it's okay with you, is the 6 p.m. game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Now, to me, I'm surprised that that Sky Sports haven't taken this one, but I'm delighted. It's going to be on Game Pass if you want to watch it. Two teams that really bared their teeth in Week 1 and have showed their Super Bowl credentials already.
Yeah, I think they have, and I think this division is one of the divisions to watch, and these two teams are primarily why. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think, especially if the Vikings get off to a hot start at the Packers, then Rodgers comes back and it becomes a little Cousins-Rodgers barnstormer, as you like to say.
Barn burner.
Barn burner. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Barn burner. I saw over 50 points at 6-4, and I like that. I think the Packers are going to win, but I think the Vikings are going to hang with them. I think it's been one of those games where Aaron Rodgers is on it, and the Vikings are quite just trailing the whole way, but they hang on and it becomes a tight game.
What about these two great defenses, though? You're talking about
one great defense.
Wow, I think that's unfair on the Packers. I think they're
great.
Maybe not great, but good.
Okay.
Above average.
Average.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Green Bay definitely have enough to show Minnesota a hard time.
I'm not sure about their pass rush, really. I think Clay Matthews is old now. Mike Daniels is a good player, but I worry for them getting to Kirk Cousins.
I still feel like Clay Matthews got something in the tank. Kirk Cousins is such a good quarterback, and now he's got weapons around him as well. So, to me, it feels a bit like the Vikings are a complete team.
Yeah.
They added the one thing that they really missed. Case Keenum had a good season last year, but actually, the Kirk Cousins is that step up. They've got Thielen, they've got Diggs, they've got exciting tight ends as well, and the defense to match. But I think Green Bay are going to put them under an awful lot of pressure. I think it's going to be a fun one. It's obviously in Green Bay as well. That's a really hard place to go. Great atmosphere. So I really think this is going to be a classic game.
I do as well. I've slagged off the Packers defense, but I'm going to pick them to win.
Are you?
Yeah, I've got them on the spread -3.5, 6-4. I just think it's going to be a big scoring game, but Rodgers will come through, but he won't be helped by his defense.
You've taken my stat there. I was going to go for that 6-4.
We agree on ones.
Yeah, that's good.
We 4 ones.
I am excited to watch that game, but if you're a Sky Sports subscriber, then you are watching the Chiefs at the Steelers, which, to be fair, I've talked about how this could be a decent defensive matchup. The Chiefs and the Steelers. There's no defense there. It's all going to be offense. It's going to be real exciting stuff, and that's going to be I think a huge scoring game.
Yeah, I think it will too, especially after what we saw from Patrick Mahomes in the first week. his connection with Tyreek Hill in particular. I can't see anything other than loads of points in this. I don't see either defence being able to stop the other offence, and I think it's just going to be points.
Yeah, you talked about Tyreek Hill. I mean, that he set the tone, didn't he, with his 91-yard punt return 2 minutes in, adding 169 yards on top of that, including another 58-yarder touchdown. They just can't stop cheetah speed, and I don't see how the Steelers are going to handle him.
No, especially with Andy Reid's schemes as well. You don't get Tyreek Hill just running a go route every time. He's slants, he's catching the ball out of the backfield, he's doing end arounds. He does so many ways you can get him the ball when Andy Reid gets him the ball. It's hard not to see him scoring, and it's hard not to see Patrick Mahomes scoring points as well. Over 28.5 points at 9-4. It's a lot to go to the Steelers and score that many points. It's going to be hard, but I think they're going to do it.
Well, in week 1, Pittsburgh tied, which is really annoying, 21-all with Cleveland Browns, the still winless Cleveland Browns. And Ben Roethlisberger, he threw 335 yards, fair play. Also threw 3 interceptions. Yeah. They lost the turnover battle 5-1, I believe, and really struggled. The Chiefs aren't known for their amazing defense, but they can hang with anybody. And I just worry a little bit for Pittsburgh in terms of if they get behind, they might fall a little bit behind. Yeah. Some people have been talking about the Steelers as the team that are going to fall from grace a little bit, and I think they could be right in here. And having said all that, Pittsburgh Steelers are still favourites in this one, and you can pick up the Kansas City Chiefs at 12-5 to win, which I just think is incredible value.
You're taking that. You see, this is the new Roethlisberger now. It's going to be loads of yards, touchdowns, but he's going to throw in a lot of interceptions.
I think there's going to be mistakes there, and against a team like the Chiefs, who have been so prolific on turnovers in the past, I just think it's a dangerous matchup, and 12-5 seems very generous.
Yeah, that's fair. I still think the Steelers are going to win at home.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, we disagree again. We're going to have to write all these down, and at the end of the week, we'll see that I'm on top.
Okay, we'll see.
Always good to hear. What other games do we want to talk about? What about the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons, an NFC South matchup? And I really feel like the Bucks have just made the NFC South totally interesting because they've just thrown a curve.
It was interesting anyway. I think this is a sneaky good game. I think this is the game of the week almost. Early on in the season, these two both think they're playoff teams. The Falcons struggled first week. The Panthers look solid but not spectacular. This is a big divisional game, and I don't know. I think Panthers. I think they're going to go into Atlanta and win 2-1. You can get them. That's quite long odds for the Panthers, who I think this could be their year. I think a lot rides on Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I think a lot rides on Christian McCaffrey to run between the tackles. Maybe CJ Anderson will start doing a bit more of that as well. But their defense is good. If Luke Kuechly's fit, they've got a great defense. That's kind of how it works. Yeah.
So Kuechly had a hyper-extended knee in week 1, but is expected to be fine by Sunday from all reports. So that's good. I see this as a bit of a fight out. Matt Ryan didn't put the numbers up like I kind of hoped he would. That's why I put him in my fantasy team. Didn't deliver.
Who did you drop? Tell everyone who you dropped first.
I dropped Aaron Rodgers for Matt Ryan. Yes, won my matchup though, didn't I? 1-0.
Yeah, you could have won it comfortably.
Could have done it. Anyway, Matt Ryan doesn't seem to be fitting in Steve Sarkisian's offense, and I'm not totally sure why. Calvin Ridley got absolutely 0 points on NFL Fantasy. I don't know how I won Fantasy, by the way.
I don't know how you win any week.
All over the place. Julio Jones kind of bailed them out of a hole, but not enough to carry this team to a week 1 win. So I kind of see this one as a sneaky, low-scoring game. I've got them down at under 44 points at 10-11.
I think it's a great shout. I don't see the Panthers ripping through the Falcons either.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers, everything run through Cam, and Cam will score points by himself and using others. But he's not the most accurate thrower. I don't see him ripping it apart. I think two good defenses. The Falcons have got a good young defense. There's a lot on people like Pat McKinney to get to Newton, keep him in the pocket and stop him rushing. But I think it's a good shout. I think it will be quite low scoring.
All right, let's move into the 9 p.m. games, Ben. And this one is a lovely little matchup. A return of the AFC Championship game. The New England Patriots at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Big game. And I
It is
think the
big
big thing is at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that's what's going to make the difference in this game.
Well, because they've got a swimming pool and people can watch from the jacuzzi.
Yeah, that's the key thing. I just think the Jaguars at home, if you're a Jaguars fan, you've got to fancy this game. They're going to come out in force, they're going to be loud. The Patriots are coming to you and you've got a real good chance of beating them, showing them who's the new boss.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
It's the Patriots.
It is the Patriots.
They are so annoying. Having said that, in this matchup last time, obviously the Patriots champion 24-20, but Rob Gronkowski was held to 7. He was shut down. I think it was 20 yards, less than 20 yards he got against the Jags. I mean, week 1, 7 receptions, 123 yards.
Yeah.
He looks like a different beast. But to me, the Patriots aren't quite there yet. They haven't worked out exactly what their new offense is. There's a lot of people left. Dion Lewis left. Danny Amendola, obviously. There's a lot of change in New England. Rob Gronkowski stays the same, obviously. But if you can shut him down, and the Jags have the secondary to do that, then this game is right for the picking.
Yeah, because then you're relying on Philip Dorsett, and I don't think people are that high on Dorsett, and I think someone like Jalen Ramsey, well, unless he shuts down Gronk, then he's going to fancy the chances against Dorsett. So I think the secondary are going to be licking their lips at the prospect of playing the receivers of the Patriots, but obviously I think they will be panicking about playing Tom Brady himself.
So the Patriots won 27-20 against the Houston Texans in week 1. There were a few mistakes in there, so New England aren't looking perfect. It's a good time to try and play them. Having said that, the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the New York Giants 2015 as well, and they didn't look perfect either. The defense still looks monstrous. It's Miles Jack returned an interception for a touchdown as well. So the defense is so strong, and yet they still can't move the ball on offense. And with Leonard Fournette looking day to day, they're not totally sure whether the running back will be back or not. You know, that's a massive factor.
That's the game, isn't it?
That's really going to change how bettors think about this one as well as fans.
But I think if Fournette is there, I really like the Jags at home. I love a little halftime, full-time.
Of course you do.
I'm going Jags halftime, Jags full-time.
Oh,
You get that 2-1.
Nice.
I think the Jags are going to they're going to blitz them.
If you're so confident, right, and this is a really defining game. I know it's only week 2, but if you can beat the Patriots, set your stall out. Jags all the way to the Super Bowl to win it all, 18-1. Do you think that's fair?
If you get on it early, yeah, I think that could be good. Because if they beat the Patriots, that's going to plummet.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So get in now. I don't think this is going to be a huge scoring one.
No, I don't either.
We've got under 44 points at 11-10. I think that looks about right for this one. I mean, watch it now and then the score blows up.
Yeah.
But especially if Fournette's out, this to me could be a bit of a defensive battle. And I, for one, as a Jags fan, are hoping that it does become like that, because then the Jags are definitely on top.
Yeah, that's going to be the Jaguars' game plan, isn't it? Keep it tight. Don't let any big plays from Tom Brady and Gronkowski, and then they'll hope they're okay.
So if you fancy the Patriots, they are a slight favourite in this one, 4-5. But if you're like Ben and you want to back the Jacksonville Jaguars, go with them at 21-20. Let's take it, Ben, into the final game of Sunday night. Sunday night football, the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. What a traditional game this is, but in recent times actually hasn't really lived up to the billing.
I don't see it as a big, exciting matchup. They're two massive teams, but neither of them are quite firing yet. The one plus point is Odell Beckham in the first game, who was electric. So a lot riding on Eli Manning to find him, and Evan Ingram, and they've got some great players, and obviously Barkley as well. But watching Beckham is a treat, and I kind of forgot last year when he wasn't there how fun he is to watch. He's everywhere, and he's making catches. He doesn't drop anything. I like watching Beckham, so that's a little silver lining for me.
Yeah, well, you've got two amazing talents in this one. You've got Beckham on the one side and Ezekiel Elliott on the other. Elliott didn't quite get off to the flyer that I hoped he would last week. I think I had him score any time. Oh no, I had him score first touchdown. He didn't make it. He did get the touchdown in the end, but not quite enough. And with the Giants as well, you've got a running back who's hoping to make the same impact that Ezekiel Elliott did in his rookie year, Saquon Barkley, who ripped off a 68-yard run against the Jags. Not easy to do against that defense. Kept very quiet in the rest of that game, Ben, but Barkley already shows that he's got that bit of an X factor, and I kind of feel like Pat Shermer's got so many weapons around him. You know, you've got Beckham, who's a game changer, Saquon Barkley, who's shown that he could be a game changer, Evan Ingram, who looks like he could be quite an exciting tight end.
Yeah.
You know, you've got these. You're starting to build a roster of quality offensive weapons. Their offensive line sucks, and Eli Manning overthrew Beckham a couple of times. It could have been a completely different game, but if Eli Manning can get back on the same page with Beckham, can use Barkley, and Barkley will rip holes in this Dallas defense, I don't see why the Giants can't go to Dallas and win.
Ooh.
Yeah. I fancy them. They're 6-4 to win.
Nice.
And I think that's very generous, to be honest. Dallas are 3-point favourites, but they didn't show much.
They showed nothing
against
in the first
Carolina.
game, did they? They had, I can't remember the stat, but they had about 30 yards in the first half. Like, Dak Prescott could not move the ball. Elliott couldn't rush the ball first half. He ended up with 69 yards, I think, but it's not a lot for Ezekiel Elliott, who's going to be fed the ball play after play.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I listened to Deion Sanders on the NFL Network, and he was saying how Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator for Dallas, is trying to change this team from Ezekiel Elliott's team to Dak Prescott's team. So he's throwing the ball more, whereas that's not the way they should be playing. They should be feeding Ezekiel Elliott every time. I know you've got to have a diversification of the talent, and you've got to have trick plays and show that you can do different things. But give Elliott the ball and let him go to work. They don't have a good offensive line either, so they're protecting Elliott a little bit, but they really need to sort that one out.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I think they're worried about their offensive line and Elliott not getting the holes, but then that equally so puts Dak Prescott in trouble. If they can't protect Dak Prescott, if you can't protect your running back or your quarterback, then you're in trouble. I'm not seeing a lot of points in this. I've got under 42.5 at 10-11. I think that's looking like a good bet to me.
Do you want an interesting fact here?
Ooh.
Since 2007, there have been 92 teams who have started the seasons 0-2, and only 10 of them have made the playoffs, and that includes last year's New Orleans Saints. So neither of these teams will want to lose these ones and go to an 0-2 start. It's dangerous, isn't it?
Especially in the division. You don't want to lose to a divisional rival early. That puts you really on the back foot.
So who are you picking for this one then?
For this one, I think the Cowboys at home still.
You're going to go Cowboys?
I like backing teams at home early in the season.
All right, if you want to back Ben and back the Cowboys, you can get Dallas at 7-10. As I say, 6-4 for the Giants. I'm feeling good about that one. I'm feeling so good about that one. I'm going to put it in our NFL preview accumulator.
Ooh.
More of a treble than an accumulator. Each week, Tom, Ben, and producer Tom are also going to pick one game each. It's just win. Is that right? Is that
Just to win outright, yeah.
And we're going to put them together, see what happens, and yeah, we'll see how wrong we are at the end of it. So the Giants are going to be mine at 6-4. Ben, who are you having?
We talked earlier about the Panthers, and I'm going for the Panthers at the Falcons, another away team, which could be a bit dangerous. But at 2-1, I think they've got a really good chance.
Nice. And what have you got for producer Tom?
Producer Tom is a Bucks fan, and he is riding high on the Bucks. So he's got Bucks at 11-8 to win at home against the Eagles.
Against the Super Bowl reigning champion Eagles.
Super Bowl champion Eagles, yes. But if the Bucks can rip off that passing offense again, then who knows?
That's a nice little treble, that.
That's a nice little treble. There's some good odds there.
Yeah, so we'll watch that one eagerly. I hope it doesn't come down to my game, though, because it's the last game, isn't it? There's a lot of pressure on that.
I like that. I hope it really does come down to that.
We shall see. So there's a lot of odds there to chew over, Ben. I'm excited for week 2.
Some great games this week. I'm really looking forward to these ones.
I feel like we're going to say that every week. We've got to try and not say there's great games every week. Because there is. No, don't say that either. There's just it's just excitement in the NFL week after week, and that's why we love this game.
It is. We'll stay up late again. Ruin our Monday mornings, but it's worth it.
Absolutely worth it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure you like and subscribe to Oddschecker on YouTube. We're at Oddschecker on Twitter. I'm Tom Julian. This is Ben McClymont. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.